Welcome in, everyone. Ready to dive deep into the 7 habits of highly effective people.
Absolutely. Stephen Covey's book is a classic for a reason.
It really is, and it's more than just a self-help book, right? It feels almost philosophical.
Oh, totally. It's like he's built this framework for thinking about, well, effectiveness, but in every area of life.
And he starts with something called paradigms, which sounds a little,
Jargony.
yeah, a little. So break it down for us. What are paradigms and why are they so important?
Think of them as like mental maps, They
Yeah.
shape how we see the world.
Okay, so like if my paradigm is that everyone is inherently good, I might approach people differently than if I think everyone is out for themselves.
Precisely. And Covey uses this great example in the book, the young woman optical illusion.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. It's like two people can look at the same picture but see something totally different.
And both can be right. It just depends on their paradigm, their perspective. So Covey's point is that we need to be aware of our own paradigms, those lenses we're looking through, and be open to changing them when needed.
So how does this connect to his idea of moving from a personality ethic to a character ethic?
So the personality ethic is all about appearances, right? It's about techniques and tricks for success, kind of like that fake it till you make it mentality.
Oh, I know that one all too well.
Right. And it can be tempting because it promises quick results, but it's superficial.
So it's like putting a Band-Aid on a deeper problem.
Exactly. And Covey argues that lasting effectiveness comes from the character ethic, from developing our core principles and aligning our actions with them.
So it's about being, not just doing.
Precisely. It's about building a solid foundation of character, like laying the foundation for a house. You can't build a strong house on a weak foundation.
That makes sense. And from there, we move to the first habit being proactive. But it's more than just taking initiative, right?
Yeah, it's deeper than that. Proactivity for Covey is about recognizing that we always have the power to choose our response no matter what life throws at us.
He uses Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust, as an
Yeah.
example of this, right?
Yes. Even in the most horrific circumstances imaginable, Frankl discovered that he still had the freedom to choose his attitude, his response. He called this the last of the human freedoms.
Wow. So it's not about controlling our circumstances, but about controlling our reaction to them.
Exactly. Covey calls this focusing on our circle of influence. Instead of wasting energy on things we can't control, we focus on what we can, our choices, actions, and attitudes.
So that's step 1, a proactive mindset. And then we move to habit 2, beginning with the end in mind. This one's always resonated with me, but it can feel a bit overwhelming, like, where do I even begin?
Think of it like planning a trip. You wouldn't just get in the car and start driving without a destination in mind, would you?
Well, maybe if I was just going for a leisurely drive, but yeah, for anything important, you need a destination.
Exactly. So beginning with the end in mind means having a clear picture of your goals, your values, your ideal life. This is where those personal mission statements come in.
Ah, mission statements. They always seem like something only CEOs and motivational speakers have.
Not at all. Your personal mission statement doesn't have to be fancy. It could be one powerful word or a detailed document. The key is finding what resonates with you.
So it's about having that inner compass, that guiding star.
Right. And having that clear sense of purpose makes decision-making easier because you're always checking, does this align with my values, with where I want to go?
Okay, so we've got our foundation character and our compass, our mission statement. But how do we deal with the day-to-day chaos? That's where Covey's time management matrix comes in, right?
Exactly. He helps us prioritize by dividing tasks into those that are urgent versus important. And he says, surprisingly, the most important things are often not urgent.
Those are the ones that always get pushed aside. The tyranny of the urgent, as Covey calls it.
Imagine a leader always putting out fires, answering emails, but never working on long-term strategy. They're busy, but ineffective.
So how do we make time for those important but not urgent quadrant 2 activities?
It's about a mindset shift, proactively scheduling those things before the urgent ones take over.
And it's about sharpening the saw, right? Taking time for self-care.
Exactly. Covey uses this analogy of a lumberjack who's so busy sawing that he forgets to sharpen his saw. Eventually, he's working twice as hard for less result.
Makes sense. So we need to renew ourselves physically, mentally, spiritually, even socially.
Those are the 4 dimensions Covey talks about, and when we neglect one, it impacts the others.
It's all connected. Wow, we've covered a lot of ground. So much to think about.
It is. This is just the first part of our deep dive, but before we move on, what's resonating with you most so far?
For me, it's that effectiveness isn't about manipulating others. It's about building genuine connections based on trust and understanding.
And I'm struck by how lasting change comes from within, not from quick fixes, but aligning actions with our core values.
Great insights. And what about you, listener? What's standing out for you? Keep that in mind as we move into part two, where we'll explore the power of seeking first to understand, then to be understood.
So we've laid the groundwork, right? The first three habits, they're all about personal effectiveness, setting ourselves up for success.
Yeah, like getting our own house in order before we start inviting people over.
Exactly. And now we're moving into the realm of interdependence, how we interact with others to create win-win situations.
And that's where habit 4 comes in. Think win-win. But this isn't just about compromising, right?
No, it's deeper than that. It's about approaching every interaction with a belief that there's a solution that benefits everyone involved.
Which is easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're kind of conditioned to think in terms of win-lose competition.
It's true, especially in our culture, which often celebrates, individual achievement above all else. But Covey argues that a win-win paradigm is crucial for building trust and collaboration.
And that's what leads to long-term success, not just for ourselves, but for everyone.
Absolutely. And it all starts with a shift in mindset, moving from a scarcity mentality to an abundance mentality.
Okay, I love that. Tell me more about this abundance mentality.
It's the belief that there's enough success to go around, enough pie for everyone. It's about seeing opportunities for collaboration instead of competition.
So instead of seeing someone else's success as a threat, we see it as something we can all benefit from.
Precisely. It's a powerful shift in perspective, and it leads us right into habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
This one's so important, but it's also one of the toughest to actually practice. We're all so quick to jump in with our own opinions.
Oh, absolutely. Covey says most people listen with the intent to reply, not to actually understand.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm definitely guilty of that.
It's easy to get caught up in formulating our own response, our own arguments, that we miss what the other person is really trying to say.
And that just leads to misunderstandings and frustration, right?
Exactly. That's why Covey emphasizes empathic listening with the intent to truly understand the other person's perspective, their feelings, their needs.
It's not just hearing the words, it's understanding the meaning behind the words.
Precisely. And it requires us to put aside our own judgments and assumptions to really try to see the world through their eyes.
Which is hard, especially when you disagree with someone or they have a completely different viewpoint.
It is. But it's also incredibly rewarding. When we feel truly heard and understood, it creates a connection, a foundation of trust.
Covey talks about the emotional bank account here, right? Like when we listen empathically, we're making deposits into that account.
Yes. And when we interrupt, judge, dismiss the other person, we're making withdrawals.
So we need to build that trust before we can really communicate effectively.
Exactly. And then we can try to be understood. But again, it's not about forcing our views on others.
It's about presenting our ideas in a way that resonates with their needs and concerns.
Right. Right. And being open to the possibility that our own perspective might need some adjusting too.
So it's a two-way street, understanding and being understood.
Exactly. And that leads us to habit 6, synergize. This is where the magic happens, where we create something greater than the sum of its parts.
Okay, synergy is a word that gets thrown around a lot. Well, what does it actually mean in practice?
Think of it like a jazz band. Each musician has their unique style, their own instrument, but together they create something amazing.
I love that analogy. So it's about recognizing that we all have different strengths, different perspectives, and when we combine them, we can achieve something truly remarkable.
Exactly. Synergy is about valuing those differences, seeing them as assets, not obstacles.
Covey actually says that the more different people are, the more potential there is for synergy.
That's a powerful idea, right? It challenges us to embrace diversity, to see conflict not as something to be avoided, but as an opportunity for growth and innovation.
He gives that great example of the land developer and the bank who were locked in a legal battle. It seemed like a lose-lose situation, but
But by shifting from an adversarial mindset to a collaborative one, they found a solution that not only resolved the dispute, but also strengthened their relationship.
it's amazing how synergy can transform conflict into opportunity.
It's a game changer for sure, but it requires a high level of trust, open communication, and a willingness to let go of our own egos.
Phew, we've covered a lot. Character, purpose, time management, win-win thinking, empathic listening, synergy. It's all connected, isn't it?
It is. These habits build on each other, creating this powerful framework for living a truly effective and fulfilling life.
And it strikes me that true effectiveness isn't about achieving some external measure of success, but about becoming the kind of person we want to be.
Yes. It's about living a life aligned with our values, our deepest aspirations. And it's a journey, not a destination.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what's standing out to you the most?
I'm just struck by the interconnectedness of it all. It's not just about individual habits, but about creating a holistic approach to life.
And for me, it's the reminder that effectiveness isn't about manipulating others. It's about building genuine connections based on trust and understanding.
Powerful stuff. And what about you listening in? What's resonating with you most? What's one idea that feels particularly relevant to your own life? Hold on to that thought as we move into the final part of our deep dive and explore the importance of Habit 7, sharpening the saw.
All right, we've made it to the final habit. Habit 7, sharpen the saw. Now this one, at first glance, it feels a little different, right?
It does, yeah. We've been talking about these big ideas, paradigms, principles, how to interact with others effectively.
And now it's like, wait, we're talking about sharpening a saw. What's that got to do with anything?
Exactly. But Covey's onto something important here. He's reminding us that we can't pour from an empty cup. We can't be effective in any area of life if we're running on fumes.
He uses that analogy, the lumberjack who's so busy sawing down trees that he doesn't stop to sharpen his saw. Eventually, he's working way harder, but getting less done.
It's a classic analogy, and it's so true. We got to take care of ourselves physically, mentally, spiritually, even socially, to be at our best.
So break it down for us. What does sharpening the saw actually look like in real life?
Well, on the physical level, it's the basics, right? Getting enough sleep, eating healthy, exercising regularly.
Those are the first things to go out the window when we're stressed or busy, though.
They are, but they're absolutely essential for maintaining our energy and focus. Then there's the mental side, challenging our minds, learning new things, reading, being creative.
I find that when I make time for those things, even just a little bit each day, I feel so much more energized and creative.
Me too. And then there's the spiritual dimension. This is about connecting with something larger than ourselves, whether it's through nature, meditation, religion, whatever resonates with you.
It's about tapping into those core values, finding a sense of meaning and purpose.
Exactly. And finally, there's the social-emotional dimension. This is all about nurturing our relationships, building strong connections with others, contributing to our community.
The things that bring us joy, fulfillment, a sense of belonging. It sounds so simple when you put it like that.
It does, but it's so easy to neglect these things when we're caught up in the hustle and bustle of life.
And Covey emphasizes that these 4 dimensions of renewal, they're all interconnected. Right?
Really. If one area is suffering, it affects all the others. Think of it like a wheel with 4 spokes. If one spoke is broken, the whole wheel is compromised.
So we need to create a balanced approach to self-renewal, making sure we're nurturing all aspects of ourselves.
Exactly. And I think what's so powerful about this habit is that Covey reframes self-care as not just something nice to do, but as an essential part of being effective.
It's not selfish, it's an investment in our well-being, our ability to show up for others, to make a real difference in the world.
Absolutely. And it's a responsibility we have to ourselves and to others, When we're taking care of ourselves, we're better able to take care of everything else.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the 7 habits, what are some key takeaways you want our listeners to walk away with?
I hope they see these habits not as rigid rules, but as a framework for creating a life that's both effective and fulfilling.
It's about aligning our actions with our values, about becoming the kind of people we truly want to be, right?
Exactly. And it's a journey, not a destination. We're all works in progress, always learning, always growing.
Well said. Covey's work is a gift. It's like a roadmap for living a life of purpose and integrity. But ultimately, it's up to each of us to take that map and chart our own course.
That's a great way to put it. So listener, as we leave you today, what resonated with you most? What's one small step you can take to apply these principles in your own life?
Remember, even the smallest changes can have a ripple effect over time. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the 7 habits of highly effective people.
We'll be back soon with another exploration of ideas that matter. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to become your best self.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Better Every Day. We hope you found some actionable insights to help you on your self-improvement journey. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on future deep dives. And if you're on YouTube, hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, small steps every day lead to big changes. See you next time.